Okay, today is March the 9th, 2025. This is Chief Crow Auto Hoax. Okay, we're live on TuneIn, Paranormal Radio, Radio King, Radio.net, and a slew of video platforms. And we will be expanding into other platforms. We're on Kick now, but from what I can tell, it's mostly just bots. We're on DLive. Diana South has joined us from there. So I sent out a newsletter earlier today to kind of catch everyone up on what we're doing right now, where the IPS is. So a couple of things. One, we are beginning to do the Auto Hoax Wiki that I was talking about the other day. I discussed how we could use things like Perplexity AI and Grok to aggregate information about various events, and then take that information and filter it through our own Auto Hoax bot, which will provide a juxtaposition of the mainstream account and the skeptical account. Not conspiracy theories, no MSM plus, no second shooter garbage, but just the straight skeptical versus the mainstream. So we're working on the wiki now, autohoax.com, if you want to keep up with that. I'm going to start a new program for members called the IPS Morning Pre-Deprogram. So the Pre-Deprogram is just going to be a breakdown of what we're going to talk about later in the evening when we take calls. South Pole is in production, which is important. South Pole should be a reoccurring thing, like a weekly premiere. And so we do have an episode scheduled to premiere on Friday. And we'll likely have it available for members as a preview on Wednesday, but it's not too late to take part, and so I put a link in the newsletter if you want to join that Discord server where we specifically work on the animation. And there's so much to bring into it right now. There's so much happening. In fact, we'll get into the list of things next. Yeah, let's just go ahead and get into that. There's the IPR points of interest, and here's an example of how AI can be used to empower what we do. Every day I would post a list of talking points or things that are worth discussing for the day. So in this case, IPR points of interest, generally like Lady Gaga opens a satanic ritual on SNL. Kanye West is now promoting clanhoods. Kanye, or Ye. Yelium, as we call him in South Pole. Trump nukes will end the world. Secret Service shoots armed man near the White House. But I would just do the headline, essentially. But what I started doing now is, as I'm trying to use Grok, for example, to add to the headline here, and I just basically say, find all the material on this particular incident, and then summarize it. So what I have instead of merely headlines is actually kind of a nuanced breakdown. And if you ask for pull quotes and links, you get it. So again, AI is something that I think has been misrepresented. Some people think it's alive, it's sentient, it's evil. It's no more sentient or evil than a magic 8-ball, as I've said before. And I think the truth of the matter is it's more mundane, but it's far more useful. So we're not working with fallen angels or gremlins. You know, we're just working with the better way of organizing information, which is necessary because the purpose to having an auto hoax-based wiki is that we have the parallel media represented by a parallel timeline. So let's just start in 2000 to the present. All the fake events, we will have a parallel story. This is what was reported, this is what cannot be substantiated, and this is the additional information, inclusive of predictive programming and concurrent programming, suggestive of media fakery, including all the drills, for example. All of the drills, all of the various suspect bits of footage, the inconsistencies, the continuity errors, all of that. I mean, this is beyond just noticing crisis actors, which isn't really an effective way to go about it. I've noticed the people who focus on actors, crisis actors, never really ask themselves who writes the scripts. And that's an important question. For example, we've been talking about a lot of these former flat earthers, all these shape traders, people like Paul and the Ball and Robbie Davidson, who's BFFs with a serial terrible person. I don't even like saying what these people are involved in, as you can probably tell. But anyway, interestingly enough, after the whole Netflix thing, a lot of these individuals disappeared. Paul on the Plane, Robbie Davidson, and others. And they kind of reappeared on this new channel pushing crypto. And I talked about this. I was like, how is it that they all changed their opinions at the same time? Now they're all in crypto. Now that the final experiment's being planned, they're suddenly back. And now, all at once, they decide that they are no longer flat earthers. I'm just noting here that it's happening at the same time. Who's behind it? But I remember this thing with the Axion, because what stood out to me, and this was a video from a couple of years ago, Axion and Bitcoin making crypto history with Patricia Steer and Celebrate Truth Radio, with this little flat earth on the U. And I was watching this because they didn't promote it on their main channels. And I was thinking, this is interesting, because here you have a group of individuals who have been doing live streams, mainstream media interviews for years. And yet they start this crypto channel and they're acting like they don't know what they're doing. Their audio is off, they're glitchy, and they're feigning like they just started it. So anyway, I did not invest in Axion. Well, it was reported today by Infinite Jack that Axion is 99.9% down since they shilled it, and zero market cap, zero volume. And here's the history there. So I don't know how many of you lost your life savings, but if you invested your life savings into this coin that they were promoting, it would be worth absolutely zero right now. And what I'm saying is that Paul on the Ball, Robbie Davidson, and the others were all promoting it simultaneously. They went from flat earth to crypto, and they rug pulled it, and now they're trying to rug pull flat earth, which is fine. You can rug pull your flat earth domed model. Nobody needs your model. Nobody needs a model at this point, unless you're under the presumption that you have enough information. And if you do, that's awesome. Please share. We are joined by Frank Murr, Waco Soto, Pete Trippa, Frugal Snowbird, Joe Fior, Verkjon, Roxy. Rocco Calzone says, we'll catch the replay in the morning. Okay, and I'm trying to make an effort to premiere these in the mornings on the backup channel. We have all these backup channels and redundancies, and it's almost like we don't need them because YouTube is kind of leaving us alone. And they've left me alone since I filed that last lawsuit. I got under their skin. They know we're not going away, and they're no longer allowing that certain individual to take our channels down through foul play. I mean, they were not playing fair. I'm all for playing by the rules. I support the terms of service. I will respect the rules of the platform, but they weren't playing fair. We had someone connected to Donald Trump, no less, the Trump White House, someone who was friends with Garrett Ziegler and who's part of the White House press corps, was specifically assigned to shut down the IPS. And many don't know that story because a lot of us are burnt out on it, including myself. But I'm not worried. It's coming into fruition. This whole thing will be exposed. This year, 2025, is a year of resolutions when it comes to the IPS versus this government-connected hacker. Like we will have his head on a plate this year, guaranteed. Buzz Dean checking in from Salinas, California. Thank you for joining. Mango Penguin, Sunday Fun Day. Yep, hope you're all enjoying the daylight savings. The masters of time and space, the masters of the universe, the authors of Planet Netflix, control time. And anytime they want, they can just adjust it. JT says, the bottom 1/3 of your image is live glitching. Yeah, it's actually here. I don't know what it is. It's in the air. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe CERN's on. I'm Mandela affecting right now. According to the Mandela affected, it can rearrange your organs. They say the heart's moved. So maybe my organs are being rearranged. They said there's more holes in our skull now. It's kind of amazing. I'd like to get an anatomy lesson from a Mandela affectee. The claims are pretty out there, but I haven't heard To be honest, I haven't heard from the Mandela affected or the Hollow Earthers. So it's like, what happened? Did the Hollow Earthers find it and they're not telling us? They just went into the hole? And what of the Mandela affectees? Where are they? There's no more. Actually, I think I might have detected one. Somebody had messaged me. I'll probably get to those comments. All right, so let's see here. So crypto shills. See, this is why we don't trust the final experiment, to be honest. The reason why none of us trusted the people involved is that they're all taking marching orders. So I was asking, who writes the scripts? Who told them, hey guys, quit flat Earth and push Axion crypto? Who's behind it? Who's behind organizing all these feds and weird offenders and predators set loose on the streets and put onto YouTube? Who's behind it all? And I mean, it's obviously part of the PSYOP entertainment complex. It's connected to the intelligence agencies, but who pulls their strings? Unless you believe that these individuals are acting autonomously. I don't. Diana South says, Awake Souls has an interesting model, but I can never agree with their eschatology. We're not in the end times. Lean Dion says, Jaron pushed Axiom too. I'd be curious to know if Jaron pushed Axiom. I really would. Someone had, okay, so I was listening to a JLB Clips podcast this morning, and somebody on the podcast with, I guess it was Fakeologist, had called into question the veracity of my claims regarding having been essentially ripped off $3,000 by a retired pilot who was kind of offering to throw a lot of money into the marketing behind this research flat earth thing that we were doing with the billboards and stuff. Anyway, he said I was making it up. And, I don't care what people think, but for me, I'm just pointing out that this person was exhibiting what I call low info disbelief. It's okay not to believe in something if you have reasons. And if you just say, I don't believe in it because my gut or my feelings, it's a worthless opinion. And so what he said was that I basically made up the story. It was too unbelievable. So I put out an article today. I was just trying to be sensitive to this person's disposition because I don't know if they were sick mentally, what the issue was or is. So I was kind of tentative about it, and I left out certain details, but I decided, let me go ahead and just break down the story of the retired pilot who paid me to hear his flat earth claims and then got a refund. So I can play the clip first so you can get the full context. And JLB has this great podcast where he takes clips from all the different podcasts that he listens to and he comments on them. And it's been a very interesting series so far. So let me play this clip here. Clip show number 12 already. I have to say, JLB is very prolific as a content creator. And we only disagree on one thing. We only disagree on what predictive programming is. That's the only thing we disagree on. He doesn't believe in chemtrails. I don't ever see people attacking him over that, by the way. Thank you, DG, for becoming a member. You now have a blue titanium wrench. Also, shout out to JM. I don't know if I can dox this person. I'm not sure how they're signing their name. I don't have it here with me, but he sent me an anime he created, and I do want to publish it in the Insider as a series. Okay, here we go. This is clips number 12, Off the Wall, and I'm just going to kind of have to move forward to the exact part here. A lot of his stuff is obviously for members, it's paywalled, but he put some content out there just to give you an idea of what his show's about. So I'm going to play that clip.
Hypocrite. Fucking hypocrite. I think pornography is disgusting.
I was listening to IPS and he was telling some story. If there's no way that he's not making this shit up.
I hate that.
There's no way he's not making this up. Now, what was he talking about? He was talking about this story about the retired pilot So here's the story. And first of all, I have no reason to make things up in my case because truth is often stranger than fiction. But he called into my question the claim. He called into the question this claim that I went over to this person's house. And so in the summer of 2017, a retired commercial airline pilot contacted me by email, and he requested that I call him and listen to a proposition. And he insisted that what he had to say, he could only say to me face to face. And he said, I offered the same thing. He said he offered the same deal to Morguile, to Jeranism, and no one took him up on it. But he was really behind the whole research flat earth billboard thing, and he said he wanted to invest. So throughout the call, he explained to me that his son had him committed recently, and he had to fight his way out of the asylum, basically. He had to fight to get back his bank accounts, his $250,000 sports car, and all this from his children, his son. And he told me he was going to die soon. And I checked. He's still alive. So it's 7 years later. But he said he was going to die soon and that he wanted to direct his resources into this whole thing, into the IPS, into promoting the idea that news is horribly bent with propaganda and the earth might be something other than a ball. He was really into this idea. And as a pilot, he said he had something to say. So I do remember that there was a video in 2016 where he had sent a letter, and it was published by the Flat Earth Society and Jeranism. And it was a letter, which I have the links here, I'll get to it, where he was describing why he thinks the earth is flat. And so he basically said, come down to Tampa Bay, Florida. So here, first of all, is the flight itinerary. If you go to the blog post, you can see Albuquerque to Atlanta to Tampa. And then here's an email, by the way, where he said to me something about, you can see them firsthand if you want to meet the doctors and the persecutors who might still be there. And he has a description of the place where he was held in Kansas, I believe it was, the facility that his children had him committed to, that he, again, escaped from. And I sat there for about 8 hours straight, and I listened to him recount the story. I was kind of tentatively setting up to be like a sort of to help ghostwrite a biography, which I've done before. I did that for Mad Mike Hughes. And in fact, Mad Mike Hughes' biography was quoted by the New Yorker in an article on misinformation last year. So I was going to go over there under this pretext that I was going to hear his whole story out, and he gave me some background to it. So he was certain that all this could be exposed, but he said he would pay my expenses to go down there. So I got a estimate for him, the ticket, hotel, Uber, and all this. And I said it would cost me about $3,000, and he sent it to me. And I went. He asked to pick me up, and he suggested I stay at his condo, which overlooked a beach in Ruskin, Florida. And I said that I would prefer the hotel and the Uber. And I just didn't want to go stay at some stranger's house, obviously. That's a bad idea. And, well, part of the thing was when I arrived at his place, I just went to his front door from the Uber to his front door. He gave me a tour of his place, where he lived. It's like this beach area. And part of it, we were driving around in his car. Now, I don't remember the make and model of the car, but he was ranting about how his son had been driving it in his absence, and he had to get it back. And he told me about how after he retired from the airlines, he divorced wife number 5, and he bought the car, and he got politically involved. He was so politically involved, and he was a really big donor. And he had a personally signed letter from Donald Trump from 2016. He had it framed on his wall here. And then things started getting a little weird. Behind this, there was a closet, and he had a suit, like a blazer, and a Donald Trump wig, and a MAGA hat, and signage, because he'd go onto rallies. So he kind of put on his little Trump costume with the wig and the blazer, and he talked about the rallies. And he was really trying to impress upon me that he had a ton of money, that he was going to die soon, and he wanted to put it anywhere but in the hands of his estranged children. And to show me how much money like I said, he opened his crypto wallet. And I remember seeing about 200,000 in Bitcoin, the same or more in Ethereum and other coins. And then we went upstairs, and he showed me these shelves full of boxes, and these boxes were full of American Gold Buffalo coins. I think at the time each one was worth about $1,200. And he said, you can't take these through the airport with you, so you'll have to plan to drive this back to New Mexico. So I'm just like, at this point, realizing, okay, this is a terrible idea. I thought it was some kind of a setup. I wasn't trusting the situation. It wasn't like it was too good to be true. It was just too crazy to be true. And besides that, I wouldn't want to be between the inheritance and all of his children and all of his ex-wives. I think this was insane. So he takes me around to the various parts of his place. He shows me where he hides these keys so I could stay there when he's not around. He gave me permission to drive his car. He took me around to meet some of his friends who owned a framing shop. Went to the restaurant bar on the beach there. And during this time, again, we hadn't even talked about Flat Earth yet. He's just talking about his children and how they took everything from him and how he managed to fight his way back out. So he was apparently setting off alarms after he retired when he started spending money in almost, they thought, compulsive ways. Like his family thought he was manic, is what I imagine. And he told me about some of the stuff that he was throwing money into, part of it being Trump and activism and trying to set up events. And one of the reasons he contacted me is after he saw the billboard, he wanted to finance planes to fly over his beach town with flat earth banners on the 4th of July. And so this is kind of, again, I thought, okay, this person was probably not understanding what his children were trying to do. They were probably trying to protect him. And one of the things that happened as we were sitting there and he was describing everything, part of his confinement, how he got out, is he was pacing, like Manic's pace. He was pacing back and forth, and he was smoking some very strong weed. And I had not seen him eat from the morning I arrived, because I stayed at a hotel, until later in the afternoon. No food, and so I'm thinking maybe he was experiencing an altered state of consciousness. And this is why I brought up the strange thing about how, after I noticed tarot cards on the table, he had casually, flippantly, like it was no big deal, brought out a pendulum and started saying the names of archangels and asking the pendulum for advice. Like, that's how he said that he decided that I was like the one. He talked about reincarnation. He was certain that this was his 1427th incarnation. I mean, he was certainly going through some kind of a psychosis. And I've been around that, so I was aware of it. I was like, this guy sounds manic. Now, I don't think he was mentally ill, but I think it was his diet and drug use that affected his thinking. And so at one point we stopped at some farmer's market. We picked up like a melon. That's like the most I saw him eat. So I think he was making bad decisions. So by the end of the evening, I was expecting some kind of talk about flat earth because he was a pilot and that's why he brought me out there. Leaned Dion says Adderall. It seemed like it. The way he paced, there was an unbroken conversation. I had no input. It was just a one-way, like he was just downloading, and I'm just like taking notes, just trying not to be rude. I'm a polite person, and I didn't think he was, well, I guess I did think he was psychotic. And I was expecting some kind of bombshell. Like he was sworn to secrecy. I thought he was going to violate an NDA. I thought something. And I thought maybe he was like privy to something. And he confirmed that he never saw any curve. But other than that, he didn't have anything to add to the topic. And he told me about how he tried to get Jaron to take his money. He tried to reach out to the Morgile. And here's the video. A pilot speaks out. A retired pilot admits he was mistaken about the globe. No longer available. It's from 2016. If you can find a copy of it, Jaron deleted it, I believe. By the time it was dark, he made it clear that he wanted to put all of his money into the IPS. And he asked me to arrange for a pilot to fly a banner near his place that 4th of July weekend. So I agreed to the banner. And he told me, he said that he was going to be up the next morning taking a walk, his morning walk. He said I could sleep in or I could join him. So I decided that night, I scheduled a plane, that I was going to disappear as soon as I could. And he did not leave. Like, I did not have any time alone. He was just there ranting, talking. So I was just trying to wait to leave without triggering something. But anyway, the next morning I heard him leaving. He was talking to a neighbor. on his walk, and the instant he was out the door, I left. I took an Uber to the plane, and he didn't express any overt anger that I just left abruptly, but he was kind of surprised. So here I have an email where he says that he wanted the plane banner over Little Harbor for the 4th of July. And I agreed. I said, sure. I called a local pilot and the companies that do these banners, and they said it was $565 per hour. The company was called flysigns.com. So I went to the website, I called them, and I ordered an Earth is Flat, Research Flat Earth flying billboard thing. And everything was fine. Here's the email from him. I transferred the funds to you at the PayPal address provided. So everything was fine. It happened. The pilot sent me a picture of it. But the problem was this retired pilot didn't see it. Apparently, it only did 3 or 4 flyovers, and it was too high. He couldn't read it. So he says he didn't see it. And that kind of surprised me. He wasn't mad about it necessarily, but the next thing you know, there was this channel called Flat Earth Reset. And the person behind the channel, contacted this pilot. And he said, IPS stole your money, and there never was a plane with a banner. So during a live stream, I called that pilot, and he confirmed. And they were saying, well, give us the sign then. And he's like, no, these are reusable signs. It's like Velcro letters on a clear background. So in other words, they were trying to say that I faked it, that it was CGI, and even bringing the pilot out didn't change their minds. They said I faked the banner. And this was when a lot of the haters started to pile up and people contacted this guy. So it kind of went a little insane for a minute there. But he sent me an email, and he said, well, actually, first I got an email from PayPal. And I had a dispute, case number 37979. You can see the numbers here. I have some emails from PayPal to substantiate this. And what happened is they said that somebody claimed fraud. And I had a $3,565 deficit now in my account. So I said to him, hello, is everything all right? And he said, it never happened. It was a fake flight. There was no banner. So I had an exchange with PayPal back and forth, and I wasn't able to get the money back. I cut off contact with him, obviously. I didn't know what to think about it, and for a few weeks he was sending me these emails in all caps. And these emails are just, to me, just insanity. You've seen my treasures. You can get them before they disappear. Doors open. Atlantis is at the bottom of the maelstrom or at the top. Anyway, it was just insanity. And so I kind of just cut this person off. So that's kind of how the story happened. And I have the receipts to prove it because, yes, he got a refund. So essentially, he paid me to go and took the money back. And he did it. And obviously, I think he knew the plane banner happened. I think it was retribution for the fact that I didn't want to stay. And I don't know what. Because he's not dead. He never was going to die. So it's some kind of a strange hoax. I don't know what you all think about it. It's weird, but it's true. That's the thing. I didn't make it up. Why would I make up such a ridiculous story? And it is ridiculous. I mean, I would never do that again. Penguinati Auto Hoaxer says, LMAO, if that dude is mentally ill, I must be too because everything he did sounds okay to me. Yeah, I don't know. Braveheart says, did you ever figure out why that guy murdered his cat? No, we're going to get to the bottom of it. That story is going to be in the next Insider. Garrett Ziegler, who worked under Peter Navarro in the Trump White House, who's part of Marco Polo, an organization connected to the White House press corps, the ones who exposed and produced copies of Hunter Biden's laptop, they arranged a PR stunt. They claimed the FBI was persecuting them and that the FBI killed a cat and threw it on the front porch with a death threat. So they showed a picture of a dead cat and a death threat. I called that town, it's in Illinois. I called their chief of police, and they dug into it for me. They found no reports of a dead animal or a death threat. And I asked him, I said, well, what does this mean? Because now we have cat Doe. Who's this dead cat? And whenever we find it, there should, I mean, even if, I mean, there should have been a necropsy. They need to find out, was it strangled? Was it poisoned? Was it shot? What happened to the cat? But we have evidence of a murder of a dead cat, a cat having been killed, and a death threat, and a crime that was not reported. So now I'm asking, where's the dead cat? And here's the thing. They used the dead cat story to raise money for their lawfare defense. So they raised money off a dead cat. They got clicks off the dead cat, and they didn't report it. So now I'm wondering here, was this a PR stunt involving a real dead cat or a PR stunt involving a fake dead cat, like an AI cat or something? In either case, it's just bad. That's a PR stunt. But I want to know, who killed the cat? Was it Garrett? Was it his mom who reported it? Who killed the cat? We're going to find out. If I have to go out there, I will find out. I will go to the front porch with the chief of police. JT, Tim didn't get honey trapped. That could have been, I'm not sure. Flap said, Adam Kokesh is worth 500 million. He told me to buy Bitcoin at 50 for $1 in 2010. Well, that was the guy's last name, Kokesh. Virk Johnson, sounds like he had cannabis-induced psychosis. Very sad. Good call on your part to get out of there. Right. Well, if I was a psychopath and I wasn't committed to this, I could have manipulated the situation or taken advantage of it. I'm sure there would have been some kind of blowback, but who knows? It's like you just take it and run. Who's going to believe him if he's having that kind of a state? Plain Dakota says, fantastic story. He was on coke and weed. Yeah, I don't know. I looked at this as, okay, 5 ex-wives. I'm not judging, but what's the common denominator? It's not him, is it? I'm like, well, and the other thing too, the fact that he was willing to totally cut all of his children out of an inheritance, a substantial amount of money, and give it to a stranger on the internet who's promoting flat Earth, like, to me, that there's no way that could stand. There's no way that could be like acceptable. Something would stop it. I would hope. Mango says, can't blame the weed, blame man for man's problems. Well, I blame the weed and the bad diet, and just being that active. I think all of that. And what probably happened is, after retirement, he didn't know what to do with all that energy. And based on his past, he's a very active person in publishing, hand-built a cabin, fascinating individual. I have nothing against him. But again, I just had to leave. And I was thinking too, though. I was open to the possibility that this was some kind of something to gather intel. It's not like it hasn't happened. Like, I have another story that's kind of related to this that somebody will probably say was fake until I provide receipts, which I unfortunately can on this one. And it has to do with the time that Marcus Goldfinch essentially purchased a temporary girlfriend for me, essentially. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. But somebody was sent to an art show I set up, and this person was connected to him and went through my wallet, forwarded all kinds of stuff, pictures. All right, let's move on. I might get to that later. I'll wait till somebody says it's fake, and then I'll come out with receipts. Now that I think about it, like the very first year of this channel, I did come across a lot of strange and interesting individuals. I mean, we met Mad Mike Hughes, got involved with that, world's greatest daredevil, and then this person, and countless others, but more interesting people than crazy. But how many feds, how many creepy sex offenders pretending to be conspiracy theorists because they worked out a deal did we encounter? How many did we expose? I mean, we exposed Wes Stace, Mark Sargent's friend. Mark Sargent's friend, Wes Stace. Oh, man. Actually, this is interesting. He put me in touch with him. So I talked to Wes Stace because he was interested in doing this Flat Earth News podcast. But during one of his live streams, someone had saw something on his browser history that he had inadvertently revealed. Had to do with, it was like alternate searching for minors and stuff like that, and knives. I didn't see anything about disposing of bodies, but it was like knives and stuff that you should be in jail for. Anyway, we exposed this as a whole. I think Behind the Perv might have covered it. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, that's a weird sync, his name. Very strange name. But we'll move on. A retired pilot who paid me to hear his flat earth claims and then requested a refund. He kind of owes me $3,500, to be honest. Okay, Lady Gaga openly performs a satanic ritual in SNL skit where a demon entity named Lamashtu is summoned. There was a skit called Friendly's Birthday Party Gone Wrong, or Friendly's Birthday. So it's like TGIF, where you can summon the waitstaff to sing happy birthday, and somebody abused that privilege. And in the sketch, this necessitated the, I guess, propagating this demon. So it's a comedic sketch, but there's pentagrams and there's demons. Lady Gaga with the high priestess garb, and then she performs the song Abracadabra in black and red, with all their, I guess, coded lyrics, because it's all occultic. Abracadabra is right out of Aleister Crowley's mouth. It's the word of the new aeon, the word of the new age. According to Aleister Crowley's book, their whole theology, their whole concept is based on a book called Book of the Law. They call the book 418, Liber 418, specifically because the number 418, it's the numerical equivalent of the word abracadabra, which means I create as I speak. And it has the same, I think, for the great work, which is what they're doing. The Great Reset is actually the great work, if you look into it. The Great Awakening is the great work. So the great work is this transition into a new age, a new paradigm, replacing the traditional with the progressive, utopianism, science fiction, replacing traditional religions. But Abracadabra is one of the songs she performed, and then she does this satanic ritual thing. So nothing new here. Also, it should be noted that Elon Musk bought his Halloween costume, the suit of armor with the upside down cross and the ram, at a costume store called Abracadabra. But none of this should be surprising, because if you remember, she performed that one song, I think it was called Chromatica. And I said it was Adrena Chromatica because her piano was a big brain and she had these knife gloves like Freddy Krueger. So it's like she's like slicing up a pineal gland for the Adrena Chromatica. Okay, let's see here. KLANYE. Based on recent posts on X and historical context from news reports, Ye has shared images of himself wearing a hood resembling Ku Klux Klan attire on March 9th, 2025. Before that, he wore the swastika shirt. I was going to... Look, this is interesting because this is right out of South Pole. The last South Pole episode we did, before we kind of put the brakes on it because of the censorship, it went onto TikTok and they censored it. And the episode is about how Kanye met up with Candace Owens and went to their mutual, or her friend, Mike Lindell, the pillow guy. And they strike a deal with the pillow guy to have his sweatshop, instead of making pillows, make Klan hoods. And he specifically requested swastikas on the Klan hoods. So we thought it was funny. It was funny, objectively speaking, but it was censored. But now it's like happening in real life. So you can expect more of this in the next episode of South Pole. Ye has used provocative imagery like the black hood in his 2013 Black Skinhead video. Now, this is something we've already looked into, the significance of Black Skinhead as it relates to everything he's done since 2022. Really, since, I guess, maybe even the summer of 2020, when he burned his house at that Dawn Day event. Plain Decoded says, Lady Gaga was in OG YouTube Truther vids breaking down her videos, some of the first Truther stuff I ever saw. Yeah, she's been feeding this for a long time, and her association with Marina Abramovich also adds to this. And if you look at the roles she's chosen, she's always the satanic adrenochrome, a drinking witch. It's just one of her roles, one of her archetypes for some reason. If you've seen Joker 2, she played Harlequin, which has a great deal of significance with Joker, Harlequin, and spoiler alert, I think she was pregnant with twins at the end. And this all ties in, and it's relevant to what's happening now with Luigi Mangione, because Luigi has that whole Joker archetype, as we talked about, the Joker narrative, kill the rich, the clown army rising up. There's this parallel here with the Joker story and Luigi, and the sympathy for the Joker and how they bomb the courthouse. But it's orchestrated by the woman who's obsessed with him. So part of the Joker movie is about how he's got this female obsessee, and Luigi is one of these celebrity criminals that has that element attached to him. So there might be some significance to her appearance there. Isabel Ann says, the eclipse this week will conjunct Saturn. The sun will conjunct Saturn in Pisces for the last time in 29 years. Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up, because in one of her videos, it's called Disease, and her album, Lady Gaga is promoting a new album. Came out a couple days ago. It's called Mayhem. And in one of the songs called Disease, she's walking around with obviously the one eye symbolism, which is like standard. But she's got this black hat. And I'm thinking, where have I seen this black hat before? Interestingly enough, Melania Trump was wearing the same hat on the inauguration day. There's Melania Trump wearing the same hat. I don't know if it's the same hat, but I mean, it's mostly the same hat. It's close enough. But I said then, it represents Saturn. It's the Saturnian brim. It's the same hat that the Strangers have in Dark City, or the Design Authority in Megalopolis. And the Design Authority would be the Metascriptors, by the way. Isabel Ann says the sun will conjunct Saturn in Pisces for the last time for 29 years on the 12th. What happened 29 years ago? Maybe we can look for a pattern. Braveheart says mayhem equals burning churches, Burzum. Yeah, that's an interesting connection there too. We were talking about Ye. So when that last shooter, Henderson Solomon, popped up on the screen, very first screenshot, and this is just a testament to how we are working with a predictable model here. I said, based on this kid's shirt, Henderson Solomon, the school shooter, there's some Ye connection coming. And I said this because I could see the letters from the band Burzum on his shirt. And Ye had made headlines for wearing Burzum shirts and using Burzum imagery for his album Vultures. Burzum being a death metal band, the singer famous for some kind of anti-Semitic killing or something along these lines. Well, as it turns out, Ye was mentioned by name as an inspiration for the killing, alongside Candace Owens in his manifesto. So these are not insignificant connections. And so the Mayhem, another significant black metal band, may have some connections here. If you don't know the whole black metal scene, it's sort of it's not death metal, it's a variant, but it's more like focused on Satan and burning churches. And I think in 1996, there was a spate of church burnings connected with it as something of a coordinated movement. Isabel Ann says, Pope needs to go so Pope Elon can take over. That's good. And I've been saying Pope, okay, so we talked about the suit of armor that he got from Abracadabra with the ram on it and the upside down cross. That would specifically connect to the tarot card, the Emperor. The red suit of armor, the ram's head, which is Aries, associated with Mars, as is the color red. And it's like an Iron Man suit. Iron also associated with Mars. I mean, there's so many connections I could go into between Musk and Mars in every single PR stunt that he does. But one of the things that we've attached to Musk, or that you can see as part of his world stage role, is he's essentially Emperor Constantine. And Constantine had a vision of a glowing cross, and he said, under the sign, I'm going to unite the empire. Musk put the glowing cross on Twitter headquarters when he took over, and he called it X, because the X, of course, is a cross. And it was glowing so bright that the city made him turn it off. But he tweeted, blaze your glory, which became the new slogan for X. And this was during the dog days of summer, which they called the blazing star. None of this is coincidental. But if you look at the symbolism with Twitter, the bird and now the X, these are appropriated from Christianity. And what I mean is like the bird and the cross, that these symbols are analogous because the function of X, the function of the internet, is to be, and is right now essentially, the Bible for the world state church. And they're in the process of doing what? Curating it, censoring it, getting rid of non-canonical texts, getting rid of the heresy, censoring the conspiracy theorists. They're trying to get everyone on the same sheet, the same authoritative, or I guess the authority-approved worldview. And so the final version, the Pope Elon version, and that's why he has X. It's that he's here, I believe, as part of the censorship agenda. He's going to provide the pretext. He's like doing a controlled demo on the freedom of speech. I think he's doing a controlled demo so the public thinks, hey, look, just like we have to lock down for viruses and take precautionary measures, we need to treat AI and information and mind viruses in the same way because of Musk, because of X. So I think that his whole agenda here is like Pope Constantine. And we're witnessing the consolidation of empire under the unification of worldview through mass media, which is monolithically controlled. And yes, Musk would be the Pope. Specifically also, so the Elon is the dictator of Mars in Werner von Braun's Mars, A Technical Tale. And he specifically sets up a governmental structure on Mars based on Rome, on the papacy. And so if you look at the symbol of the rocket, really the falcon, which has associations with Mars, if you look at the Egyptian pantheon and Horus, the rocket is the same thing, the same symbol as the obelisk at the Pope's St. Peter's Square, where he bows at the obelisk 3 times a day or whatever they do. So the obelisks today aren't made of stone and they fly into the heavens, but it's the same symbol. So Elon Musk is in fact the Pope. I call him the Pope of Mars. We have a song, Pope Elon, One-Eyed Jack and the Shells, classic. We'll have to play it tonight. Plain Decoded says, I think the Pope is in his Saturn return right now, and he's dying apparently. Harks Z says, X marks the spot on which to build their new world order. Joined by 2025 Cake Crash. It says 116 years, daylight savings. So before we get any further, I had a number of notes not notes, but comments that were left on videos that I haven't read back or addressed. And so let's see here. David Polk, this was a few days ago. When I heard about the roof collapse in the Liberty Theater, I thought liberty is something sailors take when they enter land or port, as in Seattle. And that's in reference to the Captain America screening when the roof fell, which we connected to the theater shooting in the trailer, which happened to be released right when Trump was shot. And there are numerous connections between that movie, predictive programming for Trump getting shot, and now this. A roof collapse at a place called Liberty Theater in Washington. The Grievance Gordy Show says, great music, greater topics, blue ghost anagrams to be sought or beg. Lord Laney says, Elvis or Levi's, a pair of gray jeans or X-Men's jeans gray, who is the Phoenix archetype, Phoenix cult. And Elvis does have a lot of Phoenix symbolism surrounding him. We were talking about the symbolism of the Phoenix the other night and how it correlates with the Burning Man, the Christ symbol as it's used in these meta-scripted narratives, from the 33-year-old Dave Koresh to the Burning Man at the Ellipse in 2019, and the guy 33 years prior who burned to death. And I didn't mention this. So there were 33 consecutive Burning Man festivals, Black Rock City, Nevada. In 2019, on the 33rd Burning Man festival, the same year that a man set himself on fire in the Ellipse in front of the White House wearing a USA shirt, there was a 33-year-old found dead at the site of the Burning Man festival there in Black Rock. And this is all symbolically connected. We could talk about this again later, but okay, continuing. David Polk says, The Luigi character isn't offensive to me in any way, but abortion is. Do I have a moral high ground over someone who supports abortion? In my young day, okay, anyway, he goes on about this. He says, now that's an interesting point, kind of a moral equivalency there that he's making. Can I consider the pro-abortionists as psychotic? Interesting question. He goes on to say on a different topic, I had friends who dabbled in astral projection. It took him a long time to get results, and he said he'll never do it again. Life is a battle between good and evil. Humans are caught in the middle. We're conduits. Looking forward to the Luigi painting. So some people do side with Luigi. I don't, and I also think it's fake. But I am selling Luigi paintings on eBay because I know it's fake. So it's not wrong for me to do so. Cygirl says, Dear Elon Musk, I hear you have called for President Trump to pardon the crisis actors who played the role of Derek Chauvin in the TV news series George Floyd's Death. Which actors do you prefer? The older one who starred in the original phony snuff video that was broadcast over TV and social media in May and June of 2020, or the younger one who appeared in court? This is Lynn Ertel asking Elon Musk, who wants to pardon Derek Chauvin, which one to pardon, because, as she maintains, there seems to be two different individuals who played that role. In this case, we would definitely agree with how you characterize those cartoons of a Tesla sports car in outer space with the astronaut behind the wheel. You said it looks so fake it has to be real. Wouldn't you now say the same thing about the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin media psyop? Do an image search on Derek Chauvin, and you'll agree it's fake as F. All right, excellent comment there by Lynn. Jim Brando says, your connection from the Calypso to the stranded astronauts is spot on, but why? Why are they playing it out, modern day myth-telling? I think people are too stupid for that now. Good question. And the astronauts are about to be brought back down to Earth after 9 months. And why do they do this? A creative control over history. They control the worldview. And it could just be a lot of hubris. You know, they have a lot of inside jokes. It's kind of like a... I think there's a reason for it. They're very artful about it. Okay, continuing. Uki4179 says, it's pretty funny. If you look up the owner of the El Nuevo Rodeo on Instagram, it's full of nothing but restaurant-related posts. But then after the Floyd psyop, she and her family posted photos of them sailing around the Caribbean and Mediterranean Sea and going to multiple countries. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. The El Nuevo Rodeo refers to the club where Derek Chauvin and George Floyd worked together. And the owners of that club are now traveling the world. Maybe visiting Derek Chauvin and George Floyd at Crisis Actor Island, sharing a six-pack of Coronas. You know, the very first picture of George Floyd that was circulated was him sitting next to a poster with Corona on it. Like, no coincidences. And didn't he die of C-19? No, they said it was fentanyl. But he had C-19. And others said he was killed by systemic racism and Derek Chauvin kneeling on his neck. It's interesting how it's like what I said. I came up with this like last year, but it was true even then. These bifurcated psyops. If there's a psyop, if there's an event where there are two diametrically opposed interpretations based upon your political ideology, then it's fake. So both sides agree he died. One side say the cops did it. The other side says fentanyl did it. They both agree he did it. So they both agree. And it's like that with every major fake issue. Critterfest comments, wasn't Jay Leno's first name Jack? Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about Jay Leno falling down the hill. You know who else had a black eye that was conspicuous was Elton John, Rocket Man. And JL connected this back in the summer to the Rocket Man appearance at Butler with Trump, Elon Musk. Fascinating if you look at all these connections and how many of these actors take part in these psyops. Now, Chris's wife, 8170, says, could the Cyclops, referring to, of course, the Odyssey. So, again, these two stranded astronauts, 9 months up in space. We're stranded because the capsule Calypso screwed up. And Calypso is the name of the nymph who kept Odysseus stranded. When Odysseus escapes, he has to confront the Cyclops, who they blind, and the Cyclops then summons Poseidon to take revenge. So we have this connection with Space Odyssey, the Odyssey, Calypso, the stranded astronauts, and we're trying to figure out, well, what's the story here? And there has to be great significance because of the fact that Christopher Nolan is right now producing the Odyssey, which is probably going to be awesome if you look at the amount of money they're putting into it, and if you like the original story. I don't see how they could screw it up. But if he's producing the Odyssey right now, given his connection to all of the major world stage psyops, the Oppenheimer stuff, his brother, Fallout, Batman, Dark Knight Rises, and all the Batman connections to the psyops, there's no way the Odyssey is insignificant in this context. So now we have to kind of consider this and also add into it, I guess, Leave the World Behind, Boeing, and the Boeing delays that were blamed for this mishap of a mission. But anyway, what Chris's wife says is, could Cyclops be connected to the until someone loses an eye thing? So now this is interesting because Elon Musk had said something to the effect of, it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye or an ear. And he jokes about getting shot. And we mentioned this because Jay Leno just had his eye injury. And previous to that, his ear had burned off in some kind of an accident. So it was ear, then eye. Musk makes this joke with the eye and the ear. So we were trying to figure out, what does this mean? And what this commenter is connecting here is maybe the story of the Space Odyssey refers to this until somebody loses an eye, which would mean that, let's say the psyop plays out as we're predicting, and Trump gets his eye wound, as Francis Ford Coppola depicted with Caesar getting shot in his latest movie. Let's just say that happens. That's Cyclops. That would explain that would tie into that, I would imagine. If it does, then Poseidon would follow. And Poseidon has been strongly correlated with the nuclear torpedoes that Putin has. So that would also connect with Godzilla, a metaphor for the atomic bomb, beast from the sea, all these other metaphors for what appears to be the thing, the catalyst, the iceberg that sinks the Titanic, the comet that knocks Earth off its orbit in Don't Look Up, the big thing that's going to sink the West, that's going to knock down the Tower of Babel, could be symbolized by this Poseidon thing. Okay, continuing. Copaesthetic says Tom Cruise in space is Hairgate. Yeah, and Trump was just talking about Suni's hair. Her great head of hair, how she doesn't mess around. What's going to happen with Tom Cruise's hair when he goes to fake space? And is Tom Cruise going to make space look realer when he's in space than the astronauts do in the ISS? That's the real question. Okay, let's see. Veridade says, they say Doritos are Illuminati chips because triangles. Jim Brand, Mexico says, damn it, didn't want to have to watch wrestling. Please watch it for me, Tim. Oh, yes. We were talking about the symbolism behind the attack on Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes was attacked by The Rock and Travis Scott. Travis Scott slapped his ear so hard he busted an eardrum. And then he was given a black eye by The Rock. And The Rock hit him with a belt that has the date 6/11 on it. So this is connecting a lot of dots for those of you who've been following this channel. But the ear and the eye, we're looking at predictive programming, and WWE is a huge part of this whole story. I mean, our president right now, the crisis actor in chief, is a World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Famer. Okay, so those are the comments. If you leave comments, I don't miss anything. I appreciate everyone's comments, taking the time to type in your thoughts and share with the think tank. So what I'll be doing from here on in the future is I'll be combing through these different platforms and finding things of interest, and I'll talk about them in the morning when I do the IPS pre-deprogram. Isabel Ann says, the last time Saturn and Pisces was the Oklahoma City. Ooh, nice. Okay, that's big. And the OJ trial. So Oklahoma City, you talking about 419? Was it 95? What Oklahoma City was when Timothy McVeigh blew up the government building. And there's a movie coming out next week, actually in about 2 weeks, and it's called McVeigh. Here you have it. McVeigh comes out on 3/2/1. And McVeigh is about, of course, Timothy McVeigh executed at 33 on 6/11, 90 days before 9/11. Inspired by the Turner Diaries, which itself contains copious predictive programming for 9/11. The rise of white nationalism. It predicts Ye, Kanye, essentially, Helter Skelter, Nick Fuentes. This is the Bible of white nationalism, Turner Diaries. The author, interestingly, was born 9/11, 1933. Again, McVeigh executed 6/11 at the age of 33. He was radicalized at Waco, where 33-year-old Dave Koresh was incinerated by the ATF. Like McVeigh, Alex Jones was radicalized at Waco. So Waco is also ground zero for this whole story. And this is why it's significant that Trump kicked off his 2024 campaign in Waco. And the day before he kicks off his campaign in Waco, Netflix released a documentary, Waco, American Apocalypse. And Trump was there calling this election the final battle, the last battle. No coincidences. And then when Trump is on trial, Maxwell Azrello sets himself on fire. And what was the date? 4/19, the anniversary of Waco. And why was he doing it? It was part of his manifesto. It was basically a cry for people to take action against the fascists who have taken over, the rich. And he had a shirt that said, "Eat the rich." Anyway, all these psyops are connected, but the fact that McVeigh's coming out, and if there's an Oklahoma City connection to the Saturn return, it's perfectly timed. And one of the points, too, is that when we get the nuke, yes, it's going to be a Hollywood production, but when they're going to fake the nuke, it's going to be ascribed to, it's going to be blamed on the domestic violent extremists working with Putin surreptitiously. And that's why it's highly significant that McVeigh was executed on 6/11. 6/11 is an inverted 9/11. 9/11, alien terrorists, external terrorists, lead hijacker Mohammed Atta, 33, crashes into the Twin Towers on 9/11. 90 days prior, on 6/11, the domestic equivalent of Osama bin Laden gets executed. So there's a mirroring here. So this mirroring, and it's not insignificant either, that Trump was shot at 6:11 p.m. and 33 seconds. It's all code. And it saturates all of the right-wing psyops, as we can talk about pretty much endlessly. Violet Pengon says that outfit also reminded me of the Wicked Witch. Gaga was supposed to be the witch in Wicked before Arrivo. Kind of connects the witch and Joker again. Very good connection there. So we're talking about the outfit that Lady Gaga wears in the video Disease, which matches the outfit that Melania Trump wore at the inauguration. And it does look like the Wicked Witch. So the significance of the Wicked Witch also has to do with Seattle and a blackout, an EMP. At the end of Wicked, because it's a two-part series, so it ends abruptly. At the end of it, there's a blackout in the Emerald City that she triggers with like an EMP, lightning storm or something, electromagnetic pulse. But it shuts down the Emerald City. Seattle's referred to as the Emerald City. So there's that connection. Plus the release dates of the film, 1/13, the date of the One World Trade Tower opening. Many significance is attached to 1/13 and 3/11, as we often talk about here. But also, it was released after that, like to the general public, on the 22nd, JFK's day, which might be significant. But also, there's flying monkeys that I think are connected with drones. So we've had a lot of stuff about drones, and they've connected drones with errant nukes or something. So yeah, there's definitely some kind of connection there. Now, the reason why that other individual got the gig is probably because her birth date, which is Elvis's birth date, January 8th. Ask JL about this. Isabel Ann says it's all on repeat according to the stars. Yeah, I would contend that the metascript has a basis in mythology, as someone was asking about earlier in the comments, the Odyssey, biblical sources, but I think ultimately it's derived from the myths associated with the astrological fairy tales, the zodiac, the astrotheological, and the personification of the events in the night sky portrayed on the earth, which is like a staple. It's a mainstay of religion. Look at the witches' sabbats. And I'm working on a documentary on Gabby Petito, and one of my contentions is that we're looking at the mystery schools and their rituals and their celebrations of the forces of nature as personified. And in this case, Gabby Petito was the spring maiden Virgo being kidnapped by Hades and taken into the underworld at the autumn equinox. And it all ties in timing-wise to the changing of the seasons, when they found her bones. Art of Thinking Out Loud says, church burnings are a long-time psyop. Countless churches historically have mysteriously burned or claimed to have been burned. Yeah, there have been many instances of pastors burning their own churches and blaming the opposition. There was one, I think they spray painted Trump on a church and burned it. There was a spate of church burnings that followed in the wake of the Dylan Roof shooting in Charleston of the 9 people in the basement of the church. Fake story, fake event. They didn't even have enough time to clean up the blood before they had a big service there. And Obama was there. A lot of money went to that whole operation. But the whole Dylan Roof thing was when I kind of woke up to this whole stuff. Dylan Roof woke me up. When I saw the story with Dylan Roof, and this was after I started hearing about, Sandy Hook and stuff, and I started looking into psyops, but specifically when I looked at the Dylan Roof photos critically, I noticed something. I said, all of these pictures are conveying a certain character that they've created. Even his name, Dylan Storm Roof. Well, he was radicalized on a website called The Storm, which is a white power thing. The name Dylan seemed like a reference to Dylan Klebold, Eric Harris, Littleton, also Nazis. And there were so many, I think he had the Confederate flag in one photo. In others, he was wearing a gold Jim's shirt, and this is about the time that toxic masculinity was being talked about, the manosphere. So anyway, I said, this guy's got to be a construct, and he's got the same barber as Adam Lanza. And after this event, suddenly they were banning Confederate flags, and they said churches are burning, the KKK is running amok. And one of the fires was lightning, had started a fire in a bush outside of a church. Another was a self-inflicted act of arson, and the other one was like an electrical fire. So this narrative of church burnings just happening all over was all fake, but it didn't matter. Fake wins. It really dominates. The fake stories do lead the narratives. Eric Stevens says the white pope will be replaced by the autistic pope. Yeah, actually, I saw you're talking about Musk, because he was doing the Nazi salute, which apparently they say is a symptom of autism. I didn't know that. I did not know that a symptom of autism is the Hail Hitler salute. Mango says it sucks that the Mario Brothers had to get involved. Hey, Luigi's more popular than ever. And weirdly enough, I just got an ad. Donald Trump is releasing green MAGA hats for St. Patrick's Day. For a limited time, you can get green MAGA hats. But if you go to the mall here, they've got Luigi shirts. It's Luigi carrying a rifle. It's crazy to me that they're just celebrating this. Why Luigi? Why not Mario? Says Mango. I think it has to do with the color green and Green Beret. Like the guy who bombed the Trump Tower with the Cybertruck, he was a Green Beret. Luigi, the green hood. Joker, green hair. There's a correlation here, I think, between all these Jokers, these chaos agents. And I think green is also strongly associated with the left and the green movement, environmentalism, green Marxism. Or watermelon Marxism, green on the outside, red on the inside. But green is color code for, obviously, the anti-capitalist, anti-CEO. So Luigi, anti-CEO. The other guy, Cybertruck with the green beret. Yeah, he was definitely anti a couple of CEOs there between Trump and Musk. And the Joker storyline, the green hair, all the people with the clown masks rising up to kill the rich. Yeah, it's all anti-capitalism. It's class warfare. There's flyers around town. Deny, defend, depose. No war but class war. There's a lot of Luigi fans around here. But what's interesting too is that it might be kind of connected to this. Like, I'm not quite sure, but I have to go watch it. The new Captain America has the Red Hulk, and it's the president who, again, represents Trump in a predictive programming context. So I'm thinking Red Hulk, MAGA gone wild, Trump in his final form. Michelle K says, keep a lookout for the name Penelope. Mango says, there's got to be a big storyboard somewhere. Braveheart says, there's a band called Earshot. Well, around the time of the shooting, there was a movie poster out for a film called Thine Ears Shall Bleed, and a big bloody ear poster. Curtifest says, all I want to know is who paid off the ref, man. Who paid off the ref? Yeah, the refs are all part of the show. They all get paid from the same. I want to know, but I want to know who's the puppet master here. Violet says, didn't notice anything in the new Joker, but still liked it. Yeah, so one of the things in the Joker 2, and this was in the trailer, is Harley Quinn puts her fingers to her head when she sees the Joker in the hallway. Why would she do that? Well, it's a reference to Travis Bickle. That's Travis Bickle's hand sign. And Travis Bickle is the basis for the Joker. Travis Bickle was the inspiration for John Hinckley Jr. shooting Reagan. And, of course, Brady. There's a whole lot of context here and nuance, but it's all consistent. The symbolism is consistent. So I think it was a reference, again, to the assassination. And Luigi's pretty much an assassin. What do you think depose is an assassination? Okay, continuing. So we're looking at the, Lady Gaga and SNL doing a satanic ritual. Who was the other one at the Grammys? Sam Smith with the devil horns. I saw all the party cities were closing, so where are the Satanists going to get their garb from? It's all kind of Halloweenish, but people take it very serious. Maybe they should. Like, what are we really looking at here on these shows when you see these overt uses of symbolism that connect to the occult world? You can't get more occult, more Aleister Crowley than abracadabra. There's a great deal of significance to that word, its numeric meaning, and when it's sung, spoken. Crowley would say vibrating. They don't just when they're doing their spellcraft, they don't just do a dry recitation of the words. It's more like singing it. I mean, it doesn't, Psalms, it's all about singing. So anyway, you wouldn't be really off if you said that this place is largely run by witches and warlocks. It's really hard to deny it. In fact, the word MAGA just means witch. And if you rise to the 5th degree in the Temple of Set, the organization founded by the guy who wrote Mind War, Michael Aquino, you get the title MAGA. Okay, let's continue. Kate Crash says Green Day. So here's Trump standing atop a pile of cash on The Economist. He has a gas can, and he's about to light it up. And it says, the revised economic outlook. And I put this together next to the Economist cover from 1988 with the Phoenix and all the currency of the world burning. And some says, get ready for a world currency. But there already is a world currency. It's called loosh. Loosh is the world currency. Your attention, your soul. And they get it drop by drop. They don't want your money, they want your soul. Money is just sort of a bait. The Hiroshima bomber's name was censored because of DEI. Yeah, the guy who flew the plane that dropped the bombs, it's in the news, and his name or his mother's name was Enola Gay. And so the anti-DEI people had to scrub that off because they thought it was pro-gay. Yeah, gay Hiroshima bomber, female and black soldiers being erased by the Pentagon's DEI panic. DEI is a hoax that targets the right wing. It's fascinating how they are played so easily. Like, we can talk about these controlled opposition agents, who's pulling their strings, who's writing their scripts. But all the people that follow them are also puppets. Puppets of puppets. Puppets all the way down. Penguinati says St. Patrick's Day may be a green-themed psyop for 317. Well, okay, there's been talk about the Ides of March. So I talked about this yesterday. Donald Trump getting shot 7/13 correlates to the release of the Captain America trailer where the president gets shot at, and he's played by Harrison Ford, who's born on 7/13, which is Julius Caesar's birthday. Donald Trump was portrayed as Julius Caesar in Caesar in the Park, and he's assassinated. In Megalopolis, the Donald Trump character is Caesar, who has the head wound. Then we talked about, of course, the movie Captain America coming out in Liberty Theater and the ceiling falls. So we've been making these connections, but another connection, Ides of March. So Caesar was born 7/13, but he was killed on 3/15. So there's been this Ides of Trump thing going on. It started in his first term. It has to do with sending postcards to the White House, but whatever the case, maybe there's something here with the timing, with the death of Julius Caesar's death date. I'm not sure what. I mean, according to JL, the big date is 8/4. I have no reason to dispute this, but we have to consider the significance of Julius Caesar in this context. Specifically, again, Caesar in Megalopolis, whose assassination attempt was orchestrated by the mayor, played by Giancarlo Esposito, who plays in Captain America Sidewinder, who's the opponent of Red Hulk, the president. Same actor associated with an assassination attempt in two different movies that specifically tie in, timing-wise, to the psyop of Trump getting shot. And one of the things here is that this actor in this dynamic in all these movies, like look at The Boys. Edgar, the CEO of the company Vought, is the enemy of the Homelander. And the Homelander season premiere was renamed because Assassination Run and the whole thing was too much connected to what happened with Trump. But anyway, this actor represents on the world stage Obama. And Obama's birthday is 8/4, and JL has consistently pointed this out, that he thinks this Trump thing's going to happen on 8/4. Interestingly, after Trump's ear wound, 84 days later, he goes back to Butler. I don't think it has to be that date. I think the association with Obama has been made, but it could be any time in my opinion. But according to the script, if we're looking at predictive programming as a predictive model, there is on the agenda in the script a major psyop that might have to do with this repeated symbol of the one eye thing. In fact, that grotesque mask that Lady Gaga was wearing with her witch garb had the one eye symbolism pretty obvious. They're obsessed with it. So here's the picture of KLANYE, or Ye's Klan outfit. So there you have it. I mean, it's just, I guess it's meant to be shocking. But there's not a lot of depth to it. It's very surface level. It's not all that shocking to me. But I don't know. We'll see. The Joker burned a pile of money like that, says Joe Santo. Great connection. You know, when I was analyzing this Joker movie, and the class warfare subtext. I notice how Heath Ledger burns the money, and he says that he burned his share of the money, and he says he's not in it for the money. He says that Gotham deserves a better class of criminal. And I thought, oh, class. They don't need money. It's about class war. It's not about the capitalist system. That's when it became clear to me. So the whole Joker movie, kill the rich subtext. He kills those rich guys in the subway. The subway symbolizes the lower class. And the right wing has been taught to fear subways. That's why they did the Jordan Neely, Daniel Penny psyop. Fear the underclass. This is why Daniel Penny was released at the same time Luigi went in. You had a vigilante representing the power elite killing a poor person in a subway. Now you have a person standing up for the poor killing a CEO. And there's this exchange happening at the same time. It's not a coincidence. And then Daniel Penny ends up working for JP Morgan, hangs out with Trump and JD Vance at that Navy game. No coincidences. They're telling a story. And the story is class warfare. And the subway symbolism of Joker shooting the rich guys in the subway, starting the revolution to kill the rich, tied into the Luigi thing when he shoots the CEO. And then you have these contests, these Luigi lookalike contests, and they're all putting on the green hood. Just like in the Joker, it was kill the rich, or the clown uprising. I think it was, but anyway, the propaganda following the Luigi killing, not only did it totally match the whole story from The Madness, that was the #1 Netflix show at that time, but it's taken right out of the Joker. Awakened Mind says scripted reality. Yes. Oh, we've gone pretty deep into this stuff, and like I said, it's predictive. For example, Dave Franco, the actor, has been inundated with requests to play Luigi in a movie because they resemble each other. And this is kind of interesting because he had previously done the role of the Riddler in one of these animated series. And one of the things about all these CEOs, these assassins, is they've been associated with Joker and Riddler. Thomas Crooks, the butler shooter, looked like the Riddler. Like physically, they look like the same person. 84 days after the Butler shooting, Trump is hanging out with Musk in Butler, and at 6:11 p.m., they have a moment of silence. But the moment of silence that they have is punctuated by a man singing Ave Maria. In the Batman movie, he's knocking on the glass, asking the Riddler, "What did you do?" Because the Riddler had orchestrated something. And the Riddler, instead of answering, sings Ave Maria. So we have like these layered connections between the Joker archetype and the Riddler and these real-world assassins. But it's pervasive. It's systemic. There is a deliberate and intentional alignment between entertainment and the faked news events. Something that was pointed out yesterday on a call by Leo Pirate, and this is worth emphasizing. Predictive programming only ever predicts fake events. Predictive programming has never preceded a real event. It's always fake. And there's a reason why. It's the same department. It's part of the same operation. They have entrained the fantasy with reality. This is the Space Odyssey 2001 monolith symbolism. The sun and the moon, the corona, the eclipse rather, it represents the merging of real and fake. I mean, that's what a psyop is. And psyop after psyop, fake news event after fake news event, working its way into our history, bends our history. Violet Pangon says, Riddler says Wayne Orphanage made him sing that. It was an interesting summer because after that shooting, you had Ryan Routh, another shooter, who was described as laughing when he was in custody. And he had TV appearances before, which is weird, but his hair was yellow and blue. And I was like, this is interesting. Second shooter, green hair symbolism. I mean, he's yellow and blue, but, green. And at that same time, Joker 2 had come out. So this theme of a 2, the second shooter, Joker 2. And then Beetlejuice came out. And Beetlejuice is another Joker archetype with what? Green hair. So I watched Beetlejuice, and in the scene, in the underworld, there's a Donald Trump in a gold suit with an American flag pin. So this is like a major movie out in the summer. During the shooting, you could have seen Donald Trump dead on the big screen in the underworld. So Beetlejuice, Joker 2, Second Shooter, Smile 2. There was this pattern here correlating the shooter or the second shooter with all these sequels. Violet says they play that song in Hitman as well. Oh, Hitman Agent 47. And speaking of, Robert Crimo, who was obsessed with Oswald, who had a 47 tattooed on his head. And when I saw that, I said, watch, where Trump had the 45 on his head, that's where they're aiming. That's where they're going to shoot. They're going to JFK him, I said. So you have this shooter shooting a 4th of July parade, 4 of 7, 4th of July. He shoots 7 people. He's got the 47 obsession. He's obsessed with Oswald. He's a sniper. So we had all these connections. Well, Robert Crimo was just on trial, and apparently he signed his name Donald Trump, which is really strange as well. Civil War sniper scene, green hair, says cake crash. Interesting. Again, green hair, Luigi, green hood, Luigi character, green hat, and then you have the CEO who bombed the Trump Tower in his Cybertruck. He was a green beret, and now we're arriving at St. Patrick's Day. So there's something with this green stuff. Not quite sure, but it's there. Now that I think about it, we have to look into this further. There was a lot of stuff in 2020 with Evergreen, I recall. Sometimes you'll notice this. It's concerted messaging, where all at once you're being blasted with a certain idea. Numbers, archetypes, colors even. And we have many instances of this. Like last summer, it was that monkey god thing. It was unbelievable. You have this like record-breaking million people concurrently live streaming during a game called Black Myth, where you play the role of the monkey god Onaman. At the same time, a 90-foot tall statue to the monkey god opens up outside of Houston. At the same time, you have monkeys on the loose in Ohio. You have Chimp Crazy on HBO. You have Bad Monkey being released on Apple the same day the WHO declares the monkeypox to be a global emergency. Then we have references to 28 Days Later, Planet of the Apes, but everywhere we're looking, it's apes gone wild, it's rage virus, infected monkeys, it's the monkey god. This movie just had come out called Monkey Man, about a boxer, and it ties into the monkey god, but it's a violent boxer movie, and it came out on 3/11. Jordan Peele, Monkey Paw Productions, but it came out on 3/11, and the whole concept of the mind virus kind of correlated with this. But anyway, I'm just pointing out that it's like they put it on blast. Everybody in the world is going to be confronted with this archetype in some way. It's like an echo chamber, and it's consistent. But by the way, Civil War. So last year around this time, the movie Civil War is being hyped up, and it came out. Civil War has Donald Trump in it. He's basically Donald Trump getting killed, and they insist. So what happens is there's a dispute over who's really in control, and you're seeing the Civil War through the eyes of the media. The people who aren't paying attention to the news don't even know there's a war going on, which is kind of funny. They portray the media as martyrs who are suffering on behalf of us, having to witness these atrocities. And it's kind of interesting just to show how there's this area of trust where if we're not paying attention, we don't know what's going on, and we have to trust that they're not lying. But the movie has the media as the main characters, and they're confronting a bunch of MAGA extremists with guns. They're all racist. They're anti-media. And again, Civil War was directed by the guy who wrote 28 Days Later, which is all about the rage virus. And so what starts the Civil War? The rage virus, disease X, right-wing extremism. The Madness, as it's called in the series, The Madness, based on basically Musk, who gets assassinated, by the way, in that movie series, The Madness. But the Civil War movie came out last year, and it has connections to the Rage virus theme because it's the same director. But in it, it's all about the news media following a group of people making their way to the White House to kill the president. It's obviously Trump, and they specifically call for a black woman to do the killing, a black female soldier. So I thought, does Kamala come back? And there's another movie on Netflix, I believe it's called DMZ, Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, post-Civil War America. There's like 2 Americas now. And the president of one is a black female, so it's basically like Kamala. And then the rest of the country is run by, ostensibly, I guess it'd be Trump. But this is a theme. So if there's going to be a civil war, it's been predicted in this AG film. Violet Pengon says, we had monkeys escape the zoo here. Also, the new Metal Gear, they have ape escape. It's all, I think it's highly symbolic of the Rage virus. And so the Rage virus, 28 days later, it's about like a zombie epidemic pandemic, but it's rage. And it originated in a lab. They gave the apes the virus by making them watch violence on TV. So the connection here is images on the screen turn into a mind virus that make them violent. And this is the theme that has been brought back with movies like Civil War or the series The Madness, and it all points to Musk, or it points to free speech itself and mind viruses and the need to globally lock down the internet and treat mind viruses as an existential threat as bad as real viruses. So this has been a long-term thing. They've invented the thought crime. They've isolated the mind virus, and the public is going to acquiesce because they believe in all this crap because of conditioning. And X was the final nail in the coffin for free speech. The purpose of Musk taking X over, or Twitter over, and turning it into X was not to save free speech. It's to provide a rationale for the elimination of free speech. What's up, Rocky USA? Thank you for joining. Oh, by the way, the Wicked Witch is green. We're talking about green. What's the significance of green? She shuts down the Emerald City. She's the bad guy. She stands out. She's the only one. She's green. Soylent Green, Conscious Reality says, the message of the movie Soylent Green is a world where the population growth has so outstripped food supply that most people live on meager government food handouts. TYT Prytax says, 0 Day Netflix, Black Woman President. Oh, okay, so this is good too. I only watched the first episode. So 0 Day has Robert De Niro, again, highly significant. Robert De Niro, in the predictive programming conversation, he's hugely connected to the Trump assassination stuff. Remember, he played Travis Bickle, who inspired Joker, who inspired Hinckley to shoot Reagan. And now he's anti-Trump. And in the Joker, he gets killed. And in Machete, he plays a racist senator giving a xenophobic speech, and he's shot, and the speech is the exact speech that Trump was giving when he was shot. So we've talked about De Niro. Well, De Niro plays a former president in 0 Day. And obviously he plays Biden. And the implication is that he was forced out of office. But in this version of reality, there's a female president, so it's obviously Kamala. I hadn't watched very much, but the first episode had an auto hoaxer calling out crisis actors after these subway trains collapsed. It's a total 9/11 recreation, the opening scene. But they made a point to bring out the auto hoaxer. Like, you better not talk about conspiracies, and it starts a riot. So it's kind of funny how it's like the person calling it fake is just despicable, reviled, the non-believers. Like, what are they going to do? Like, if we call out the next big thing fake, like they're trying to stop that. Bury us to our waists and throw rocks at us. Burn us at the stake. Chop our heads off. Because they're acting like religious fundamentalists when it comes to the non-believers. Mazel says they also ate weird bars in Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer is a great movie to watch if you want to look at Metascript and how they use actors to play the same characters in different roles. So in Truman Show, Truman's antagonist, the Demiurge in his little Matrix, it's played by Ed Harris. He's the guy Christoph, who says that we accept the world that we're presented with, and Christoph creates the false world. He creates the Truman Show. So Christoph is kind of an ominous character in the sense. In Westworld, Christoph is the man in black, the Saturnian, like Hades-like character ruling over this underworld, and he has to be defeated, just like Truman had to defeat him. And in Snowpiercer, they're in this closed system of this train, and he's like the engineer at the head of it. Some say Snowpiercer is Charlie and the chocolate factory all grown up and what happened to Charlie. But anyway, side note, that actor plays a similar role in many different movies, similar archetype. Isabel Ann says, De Niro money in Spanish. Interesting. Casino movies. De Niro, again, lots of significant roles with relation to this Trump thing. And the only reason we looked at this, and this is just an example of, again, we have a model for assessing media and it's accurately producing results. When I saw Robert De Niro outside of the Trump courthouse ranting about how Trump was, quote, a destroyer, I was like, oh, he's a destroyer. He's going to destroy the world. Destroyer is from Revelation 9:11. Abaddon, Abaddon, the destroyer in the abyss, Apollyon. And I said, there's no way that De Niro being out here is just some Hollywood liberal ranting. There's got to be greater significance. And this is when we saw him in the role of Machete, getting shot at, then Machete gets his ear blown off. But De Niro as Trump is giving an exact speech, almost verbatim. Because if you remember, Trump looks up to the sign and he says, look at all the immigrants coming over the border. Look at the sign. And everybody's looking at the sign. You know what that was? That was misdirection. That's what magicians do. They tell you where to look while they do their trick. So while everybody's looking at the sign, then the shooting starts. And then he ducks. That was to make sure there were as few eyeballs as possible on Trump at that moment. He's a magician. He's a great magician, as Marina Abramovich said. So during this magic trick, you're all distracted by the sign, and he's talking about the illegal immigrants and the damage they're doing to cities and all this. In Machete, Robert De Niro is playing this Trump-esque character, and this is in 2010. This is before Trump was even in politics. And he's talking about illegal immigrants in disparaging ways when he's shot at by an illegal immigrant, Machete. There's layers to this stuff. It was Danny Trejo, of course, played Machete. And during the summer, he was on a parade and somebody hit him with a water balloon. We could talk about that actor, but nothing that happens on the world stage is a coincidence when it comes to these individuals. 2025 cake crashes, plane crash around New Year's. Well, the plane crashes really accelerated after the drone psyop, and there were no drones. But it followed the movie Flight Risk, directed by Mel Gibson. And Mel Gibson is connected to predictive programming since 9/11. And the plane crashes really started in earnest after Leave the World Behind, an Obama production. The Obamas are in on this. Leave the World Behind, planes falling from the sky, 9/11-y stuff. But the significance there also ties into Donnie Darko. And one of the characters in Leave the World Behind is called Donnie Darko. They call Rose Donnie Darko, disparagingly. But after that, it was nothing but Boeing accident after Boeing accident, so much so that the media had to notice this. And they said, look how many people, the media was saying, are calling what's happening in the news something right out of Leave the World Behind. And the Boeing thing is all about Boeing. That's why I said before those two astronauts were stranded, I said this mission's going to be a disaster because Boeing. And I watched Fly Me to the Moon about the fake moon mission, and they make Boeing jokes, Boeing disasters. So how are they making jokes about Boeing disasters in a movie that was produced and edited before the Boeing disasters? And that had me thinking that maybe what they're orchestrating with these astronauts is some kind of a disastrous psyop. And Musk is going to bring them down. Not sure what's going to happen, but 9 months also maybe has some significance. And then something else too. So we're talking about the significance of the Odyssey in relation to the Calypso and these stranded astronauts, Poseidon, the Cyclops. There's a probe on the moon, I think it was called Athena, that had fallen over. Let me see if I can find that information. Here it is. Athena spacecraft declared dead after moon mishap. It fell over. It's useless. It was 250 miles from the landing site. But the significance here is that Athena is the, I guess, yeah, she's the Greek equivalent of the Roman god Diana, the Roman goddess Diana. And so if you remember, you had no, it's Artemis. I'm sorry. Athena is the one who's in the Odyssey, who's, oh no, she's the advisor to Odysseus. So Athena is essentially Odysseus's god, so or personal savior. She's kind of like, she aids him throughout the book. Kate Crash says the real ones seem to stay in the local news. It's frustrating. There's no easy way or method to say which is fake and which is real. Actually, there is. There are hallmarks of fakery. So when the plane, the AA flight, hit the Black Hawk, I said, I'm going to wait a few days. I'm not going to say it's real or fake because I don't have enough information to know it's real, but I don't have enough to know it's fake. So what are the hallmarks of a fake event? You look for concurrent drills. Check. There were drills for rescuing people from the ice water. And then you had the fact that the helicopter was doing a doomsday continuity of government evacuation drill when it happened. So you have the drills. And then you have, is there an immediately discernible political agenda here? And is it bifurcated? Yes, it was. The left said the reason for the collision is Musk and Trump fired too many tower operators. So flight, you have the firing of so many FAA employees and all these airlines letting people go because of Trump and Musk cutting government. So the anti-government actions caused the collision. That was what the left said. But the right said, no, this is DEI, is a female pilot. The helicopter pilot, they're not telling us who it was because it was a female. So the right blames DEI for the event. The left blames anti-government actions by Trump and Musk. So they both agree the event was real. They disagree on the cause. Typical psyop. So it had all the hallmarks of fakery. And then also, I went to the theater to go watch the movie Flight Risk, and I said, I'm watching it because it's the same week as the Challenger explosion and the helicopter explosion of Kobe Bryant. And I said, this is a week of fiery immolations. So for a movie like this to come out at the time, it's got to be significant. So I went to go watch it, just like I talked about how Homestead was going to precede LA getting nuked at the beginning of the year. And LA got burned. It's been compared to Hiroshima, and it went nuclear according to many. But my point being, the movies do track with the quote, with the psyop. See, it's not like life imitates Netflix. No, the fakery is what follows. So psyops imitate art, not life. It's not real life. So it is easy to determine something is real and something, or rather, whether something is real or fake, because you can tell by how the media handles it. If it's a political agenda, if it's propaganda, if it's atrocity propaganda, it's pretty easy to tell right away. If it's real, you're not going to get all the information right away because it's an investigation. You're not going to know about, like, here's an example. Right before the event, Tanya Harding reappears on the world stage, and then Nancy Kerrigan. So now we have ice skating. And then Nancy Kerrigan goes on TV wearing the same turtleneck sweater that she wore when she was crying on the skating rink floor decades earlier. And she's crying because the ice skaters died on the plane. So they have all these connections. Now I'm wondering, actually there's a few other movies at the same time, but I think there's plenty of evidence here to suggest that this was a psyop. Absolutely. You know, and also someone had called in a day after and they said they knew somebody who knew something about a drill going on. And we looked at photographs of the drill for rescuing people who are in the water, in the ice. And that photograph actually looked like it was taken right off the cover of Flight Risk. So I'm not a reality denialist, but what I am saying is that the major news events that drive the major narratives that keep everything perfectly bifurcated and split, those ones are fake. Those are the ones that get the news and the attention. And there's all kinds of mass shootings all the time. You're like, oh look, 15 people got shot in Chicago, and I'm like, it's real. I don't even look into those. 10 people got shot at a nightclub. It's real. Unless there's a high body count, it's real. Because what happens in these psyops is everybody who gets shot dies, high body counts. It's atrocity propaganda. It's like, it's exaggerated. It's cartoon violence. In real life, the body counts are never that high. And also, of course, the way that the story unfolds is vastly different if it's a real event. You don't hear about it. It's not projected onto everyone's consciousness, whether you're watching the news or you're watching the movies. I mean, think about this. We're like ending the year 2024, and I said, look, there's a movie coming out called Homestead. It's targeting the right wing, post-nuke apocalypse Los Angeles. If you're in LA, you're going to get it. And then a week later, LA's on fire. And so real life doesn't follow the movies. It doesn't work that way. Most of the big things people respond to aren't real life. Okay, let's continue here. Again, we mentioned this the other night. The Starship exploding looks exactly like this Economist cover, Crypto's Downfall. 2025 Kate Crash says, I find the movie Civil War to pose serious questions about the reality of war. That was my takeaway. My takeaway was this. We're detached from these events. The media tells us. And if the movie is real, if the movie was depicting reality, then yeah, these people these reporters are subjecting themselves to some horrible things. And we're apathetic to it, and we should feel sympathy for them. But the movie kind of shows you how we're so detached from it, they could be faking it. We would have no way of knowing the difference. Was it William Randolph Hearst who said, you furnish the photos, I'll furnish the war? And I think he had some connections to JFK. We're looking at William Randolph Hearst, Hearst Publications. You furnish the pictures, I'll furnish the war. And this had to do with the Spanish-American War, but essentially he's saying with his control over media and publishing, if you supply the photos, which they consider evidence, he can tell the story and make it real. And we were talking about this after the 10/7 thing. No, after Ukraine started, and how tens of thousands of videos circulating online depicting what was happening over there. The most popular ones of all turned out to be mostly just video game clips. Like literal video game clips. And it's kind of interesting too that the night before 10/7, there was a video game, Modern Warfare 3, that was released. So you have tens of millions of people immersed in this simulated war when the real thing happens the next day. And I think it seamlessly blends together. This is the merging of real and fake, entertainment and fake news. Anger at Musk turns violent with Molotov cocktails and gunfire at Tesla lots. Across the U.S., Tesla facilities, vehicles, and charging stations have faced a surge of vandalism and arson attacks linked to a public backlash against Musk's involvement in the Trump administration's Doge on March 4th. And I think I said this earlier that week. I said, March 4th, left-wing terrorists. Did you all hear that? because March 4th they were planning a 50-state protest, but I said watch March 4th, it's going to be something. On March 4th, a Tesla supercharger station in Littleton, Massachusetts was set ablaze, damaging 7 of the 12 charging posts. No customers were present. In Colorado, a woman named Lucy Nelson threw Molotov cocktails at a Tesla dealership and spray paint in a different one. In Loveland, someone spray painted Nazi on the property. In a Tesla dealership in Salem, Molotov cocktails. And then he came back with a gun. That was Adam Lansky. Adam Lansky. In Portland, Oregon, gunfire struck another Tesla showroom March 6th, shattering windows, damaging cars, with police investigating at least 7 shots fired. All these coincide with the Tesla takedown protests, a grassroots movement opposing Musk's influence on federal job cuts, again, that caused the plane crashes. The unrest stems from his Doge leadership. Pull quote, "You're not just punishing Tesla or Tesla drivers or Musk, you're making it hard for people to choose other brands of electric cars," says Jeff Allen, an EV advocacy group director. So what does this all mean? Well, as I said, the #1 show on Netflix at the time of the Luigi shooting of a CEO, and these are super connected, outside of a 47-story building where Trump accepted his candidacy for the 47th president, 47th CEO of America. These stories overlap. So the #1 show at the time of the Luigi shooting was The Madness, and the main character is a billionaire who stole the election for the president, and he funded online Nazis that cause violence in real world, which they call The Madness. And he gets killed at the end. So the movie The Madness foreshadows attacks on Musk for stealing the election, for inciting violence through internet memes that he finances. So you see these connections here. Everything with Musk that we're seeing was foreshadowed before he was even in this capacity, before he was in Doge, before the left wing was comfortable saying they stole the election. The Madness specifically is about the mind viruses that incite right-wing violence. And throughout the movie, they make the case that it's justified to kill the CEOs. In the movie, the character who's believed to have killed the leader of the white nationalist group, Brother 14 is his name, he's given cover. Nobody turns him in. Nobody snitches because they agree with it. In the movie, they use ghost guns. Antifa on meth with Uzis. They use ghost guns, 3D printed guns. What did Luigi use? A ghost gun, a 3D printed gun. But the point of the movie overall is class warfare and justifiable homicide if you're taking out evil CEOs. That was pretty much my takeaway from it. And everything about it has been coming true since. And one more point here. Trump was accused of quoting Napoleon Bonaparte about how he who saves his country breaks no law. And this was said to also reference Anders Breivik, the right-wing nationalist who shot up a bunch of Labor Party families in protest against immigration. So you have these connections here with this phrase attributed to Napoleon, cited by Trump and Anders Breivik. So this is all kind of reported concurrent. Trump, and then Musk doing the Nazi salutes. This is all just symptoms, I guess you could say, of this madness and this story that they've put out there. But when Trump said this statement, this quote about saving the country, it was retweeted by Elon Musk, along with 14 American flags. The number 14 has special significance to the white nationalists. That's why the guy in the movie is called Brother 14. Penguinati says, I think William Randolph Hearst was Aleister Crowley. Same eyes. Thrustazar says, Barbara Bush has Crowley eyes. Yeah, I've seen the Barbara Bush thing. And there's some rumors that Barbara Bush is Aleister Crowley, or the daughter of Aleister Crowley. Okay, let's continue We're just talking about the uprising against Musk having been forecast by a movie called The Madness. And I said it. I even called this. I said the left-wing uprising starting March 4th against Musk, against rich CEOs. It's pretty clear. And if the madness is predictive of what's to come, then you would expect violence against the leader of America first. And Nick Fuentes had an assassination attempt against him. You'd also expect threats against Stu Peters, and that has happened. The next thing we're waiting for, in order for this to be consistent with the movie, is we're waiting for Laura Loomer to get taken out. Because Laura Loomer is Laura Jennings in this series, and she's taken out. Secret Service shoots armed man near White House. This was on the 17th and G Street Northwest. He traveled from Indiana with the firearm, seeking an armed confrontation with Secret Service personnel, and they fired their weapons at him. This is from earlier today. Trump wasn't there at the time. Don't know if there's any deeper significance, but I suggest you follow my blogs. Go to autohoax.com so you can keep up with what we're doing with the Wikipedia-like autohoax record of what's happened since, well, the advent of mass media. We're going back. We are retro auto-hoaxing all the fake news of the past with the assistance of AI. And I'm going to record a video tutorial on how to use Perplexity and Grok to get information, and then how to have it repurposed in rapid order and then made usable and publishable. So if you want to help with this, there's definitely a need for it. And if you want to participate in the South Pole production, that's also open to you. Just go to the newsletter and go to where I posted a link. We'll have a premiere on Friday for the next episode of South Pole. And one of the main themes is, in fact, space junk. All right, everyone, thank you for joining. Appreciate your time and attention. We have more than 200 people on the video channels and another 50 or so on the audio channels. And I'm trying to maintain a consistent window of time. And again, if you're not a member, I recommend joining, because the IPS morning pre-deprogram is going to be a members thing. So again, thanks for joining. This is Chief Crow again. Auto Hoax or GTFO.